You think you know Spain and you don't live here yet? Think again. Everyone talks about the sunshine, the beaches, the sangria. But I don't think anybody does talk about the sangria right enough. You know what I mean? Once you actually live here, for as much as I love it, you start to see a few things that don't make the postcards. Are there postcards nowadays? Nah, I'm always, as you know, singing Torrevieja's praises. But nowhere is perfect. And in this video, I'm sharing 7 generally unspoken quirks about life in Spain that I've realised since moving to Spain 3 years ago. And it's the sort of stuff that only sinks in really after you've unpacked your bags and started living day-to-day life here. And by the way, I'm doing this, I was meant to do a lovely walk today, but we've had a storm. We've had a lot of storms recently, and I'm in between storms at the minute, so I thought I'd go for a drive in the car and do it. Right, anyway, hi folks, I'm Steve, welcome to the channel, and I want to say up front, I love living here, and I wouldn't dissuade anyone else from wanting to live here in a million years. But there are a few things that genuinely surprised me when I first moved over, and some of them, let me tell you, took a bit of getting used to. So let's get straight into it. And the first one is, the pace of life isn't just slow, it's like a philosophy. People always say, rightly, that the pace of life moves slowly in Spain. And they're right, but not really in the way that most people think. How do I word this? It's like not just about being laid back, it's a mindset. And quite often, things just don't happen when you want them to or you expect them to. Shops close, as most people know, for the siesta in the middle of the day. And that really, when you're living here, that really takes a bit of getting used to. Also, people will just stop for a chat, even when they're in the middle of work, and nobody seems to be in a hurry, ever. And at first that can drive you a bit mad, you know, especially when you're trying to get things done. But it's not laziness. You eventually realise that. It's just how life works. It's the culture. The clock just doesn't rule everything in Spain. And that's something you either adapt to or you don't. Next, bureaucracy never ends. You know, you might think that once you've sorted your NIE or got your residency or your visa sorted, that's it, that you're done. You're not. In Spain, and especially working with government agencies, paperwork, it's like a full-time hobby. You'll fill in forms that nobody seems to need, bring copies that nobody looks at, and queue for an hour every time. But somehow, things just get sorted and you get to the end of it. And I've learned the trick is not to fight it. Just breathe, bring every document you own to every meeting, and go for a coffee afterwards. Next, and this is a big one, driving in Spain can be interesting to say the least. Now, I'll probably get attacked for this, but it must be said. And this is one I probably noticed more than anybody because I was a driving instructor for many years. And let's just say, driving here takes a bit of adjusting to. For example, speed limits. You know, you can be driving up a road and they can change 3 times in the space of a few hundred metres, and very often for no logical reason whatsoever. And the roundabout rules, they're absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, Spanish people, this is not a criticism of you, but they're ill thought out and in most cases impossible to uphold in real traffic. And of course, add to that the mix of nationalities, all driving with completely different habits, and you got a recipe for some very creative road behaviour. And genuinely, indicators, they definitely seem to be optional. Lane discipline seems to be more like a suggestion, and you quickly learn to expect the unexpected. Oh yes, and don't expect people to let you out at junctions or anywhere else for that matter. You know, whenever I let someone out, which is just force of habit, it usually takes them a while to realise what's happening because they're not used to it. And of course, when you do let somebody out, you won't be getting a thank you. And you'll also learn that there are a lot of police road checks. I've been stopped 3 times this year, and it's never exactly a pleasant experience. There's no pleasant chat. It's serious, paperwork out, straight faces. Not a problem, of course, but not exactly a warm Spanish welcome either. So, yeah, it's driving here works, but in its own unique way. And if you plan to live here and drive, you definitely need to adapt. Next, a few things about owning a property. So, buying your home here it's a dream. Fantastic experience. No rent, no mortgage, sunshine all year. But what most people don't realise, and I didn't realise initially, is how much ongoing effort it takes. Things break more often than you'd expect, especially plumbing for some reason. Everybody has plumbing issues. And I think it's mostly to do with the heat and humidity, or just how buildings are done here. And apparently finding reliable tradesmen here can be difficult. I've had friends say anything they need done, it usually takes a week or two before whoever you go to gets round to getting to you. And remember, even if you own your own property, you still have to pay things like your community fees and your insurance and your SUMA, and it all adds up, you know. And then there's healthcare. Now, the healthcare here works well, but it's different everywhere you go. And one thing I've learned through this channel and people's contact with me is that Spain's healthcare isn't one size fits all. Every region runs its own system, and the process for registering and even just getting seen can vary quite a lot. Here in the Valencia community, I found it pretty straightforward once you know the steps, but that'll not be the case everywhere you go. And in Valencia, as I've talked about in other videos, non-working residents and early retirees, etc., can still register for public healthcare, which is great. But again, go somewhere else. That in a lot of places won't be the case. And yes, if you want a straightforward, simple explanation of how it all works, I've made a separate video that covers it step by step, so I'll leave a link in the comments section below. Next is the weather, and I picked a good day to talk about the weather. When people who don't live here yet picture Spain, they picture endless summer. And yes, there's over 300 days of sunshine every year, which is fantastic. But what caught me out was the winter. I was quite surprised in my first winter. Even here in southeast Spain, once October arrives, the evenings cool right down. It's still lovely during the day and can get very hot during the day. But yeah, the evenings can still cool down. And then from February through to about April, it can feel more like autumn in Ireland than the Costa del Sunshine. You'll get plenty of blue skies, but the temperature drops way, way off. And then you have quite a lot of these storms, very, very heavy rain for hours on end, and thunder and that sort of thing. That doesn't bother me too much, but it does keep you at home. Everywhere goes quiet. In the real winter months, restaurants close down. Other restaurants change their hours, close early at nights, and that lively buzz that we all know Spain for just disappears. But just for that 2 or 3 months. And again, it's not bad. It's just something that I hadn't thought of and something that I had to get used to. Right, next, I think this is the final one. I've sort of hit on this a little bit, but Spain, it isn't really one country. It doesn't feel like one country. Spain isn't one single culture or lifestyle. It's a mix of completely different worlds, honestly. From the language, to the food, to how people treat time, everything changes from one region to the other. And most expats live along the coast, but it's a very different world. Go 20 kilometres inland and people live completely differently. People behave completely differently. You know, even within the same province, drive an hour or two inland and you feel you're in a completely different place. Well, that's my experience, of course. That's how I feel about it. But of course, that's what makes Spain fascinating. But it's also why no one like me, no vlogger or anybody else, can tell you what living in Spain's really like, solely based on the area that they live. Because it depends entirely on where you live, who you meet, and how you adapt. So, those are 7 of the biggest unspoken truths I've learned since moving to Spain. None of them reasons not to come. Far from it. If anything, they're just part of the reality of everyday life here. But I'm telling you, living in Spain teaches you patience, but it also teaches you appreciation, and it teaches you to slow down a bit, to enjoy life. And for me, that's the best lesson of all, you know. So if you're planning on coming to live here, these things are definitely worth knowing. I wish someone had told me. Okay folks, I hope you enjoyed that, found it useful, but that's it for this one. I'm going to leave it off there. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and drop a comment below, get involved in the conversation if there's anything else you'd like to add to what I've said. But until next time, bye for now.